spring day, sort of, out there. And we're all happy that spring has arrived. Crocuses are croaking, the daffodils are daffy, and the forsythias are doing whatever the devil they do. Duane and I are feeling mighty rejuvenated and mighty feisty, and we're not going to take any prisoners. No more Mr. Nice Guy weaseling anymore. That's it.
No more Mr. Nice Guy. We've had the Nice Guy show.
That's right. From now on, that's it. So we're going to start off today with a much ballyhooed by us and delayed discussion of Hillary Clinton versus Elizabeth Warren in their run or non-run for president. Yep. Duane, Hillary's candidacy soon to be announced. Is she going to do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, she's programmed. Okay.
Oh, yeah. There's no question about it. She's an absolute guaranteed candidate. The problem is she's coming out of the gate carrying a 10-pound bucket of sand.
Okay. Very good. Strengths. Okay. She supports abortion.
Yeah.
She deserves the nomination. It's her turn.
That's right.
She supports abortion. She spent her life in politics, and she supports abortion.
Oh, yeah. There's a pattern there.
Yeah. You got any other strengths or motivation of hers to run, or?
Well, she's violated all tenets of being Secretary of State and using her own email system.
Well,
no one knows what she's been doing.
That's coming up under weaknesses.
I'm sure weaknesses. Oh, I thought they'd use that as a strength. I'm sorry. I do get confused with some of these candidates.
Does she have any other discernible strengths? I mean, aside from her gender. I mean,
name recognition.
Name recognition. Okay. The royal line.
The Bush and the Clintons. You know.
Okay.
It used to be the Kennedys, but
okay.
They've been upseated.
Yeah. And I suppose, for better or for worse, she's a known quantity?
Yeah. It's the devil you know, I think.
Yeah, okay. Anything else? And I tried to be really open-minded about this. Yeah, right.
She has an appeal into the women's movement.
Yeah,
so
okay.
That's another, not only name recognition, but the women's movement accepted her.
Yeah. But there was all about abortion.
Yeah.
I mean, well, anyway. Weaknesses. Her baggage. Now, I'm going to tell you, she's got baggage that just won't quit. Oh, we kind of went over this a little bit, but I think we're going to have to do it again. But here's the weaknesses that I see. The Whitewater development.
Yep. Madison
Guarantee Savings and Loan. Jim and Susan McDougal. The Rose Law Firm, including one of her partners in the Rose Law Firm, Webb Hubbell. Remember Webb Hubbell?
Oh, Webb Hubbell, absolutely.
Webb Hubbell became Associate Attorney General. That's the third highest position, law enforcement position in this country. Mm-hmm. He's indicted for mail fraud and tax evasion, and then pleads guilty to failure to reveal potential conflict of interest.
That's a pattern.
Yeah,
with the Clintons.
And I believe, unless I'm mistaken, I believe he was sentenced to 21 months in prison. I think he served most of it.
Probably.
Castle Grand, another land scandal. Now here's another big problem I think that Hillary has, and that's Vince Foster's suicide. Remember when he committed suicide, she locked the door to his office and nobody, law enforcement, no one was allowed in there for 25 hours.
Yep.
And when they were allowed in there, there were no files to be found.
Amazing, wasn't that amazing? I think the
Yeah.
file fairy came in and took them away.
The file fairy, I think, was well at work there. I think you're right. Cattle futures.
But
That-
doesn't anybody be able to spend a couple of grand in a future market and come up with $100,000?
Well, I went to see a financial guy the other day and said, I get $5,000 to invest. Can you give me $100,000 back? And he didn't think he could do that.
Oh,
But
really?
evidently, Hillary found somebody that could do it. That's amazing.
Well, I talked to my brother-in-law the other night. He says he's in the cattle business. He says he's getting $1.47 a pound right now on the standing weight. He said, that's good. He says maybe you should put some money in the cattle futures.
Well, with the drought, the cattle futures have been all over the
Oh,
place.
yeah.
But I think that, it may be a good idea to throw a few bucks in there. I'm not going to do
That's
it.
what I would.
Uh,
My bucks are spoken for.
yeah. Hillary also has got her fingerprints all over the 3 would-be attorney generals.
Oh, yeah.
Zoe Baird, that was her first pick, but Zoe failed to inform them that she failed to pay taxes for her domestic help.
Things like that just slip our minds all
I
the
know.
time, don't they?
It does. It does. And then we went to Kimba Wood.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and Kimba failed to pay. Kimba employed an illegal immigrant as a babysitter. She lied to Clinton when she was first asked about this in light of the Zoe Baird affair. Then she got the appointment because Hillary insisted on a female attorney general, who, by the way, lacked a law enforcement background and managerial experience. And I think it was George Stephanopoulos that finally got to the bottom of this because he was hearing rumors. And finally it comes out, oh yeah, I guess I forgot to pay taxes. So she withdrew her name. But she got a judgeship for it, though.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Judgeships are frequently awarded.
yeah. And then we finally settled on Janet Reno.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And now there's a real high spot for you. She ran that big barbecue down in Waco, if you remember. Then you got Monica Lewinsky, Paula Jones, and Jennifer Pookie Flowers.
Oh, my.
Travelgate, Filegate, the Hillary secret health care plan. Until that woman...
Whatever happened to that anyway?
Yeah.
It got so secret that nobody knew.
Yeah, nobody owns up to that. 700 people went in a room, and nobody came out.
That's right.
Yeah, until for all we know, they maybe had barbecue and a few beers and said the hell with it, went home.
I think that had something to do with UFO and aliens.
Until, in all candor, in all honesty, until she comes straight on that, and everybody, oh God, that's ancient history, Bill. Baloney. Until she explains that, I'm not interested in really listening to a whole lot of it.
I'm not either. The problem with a lot of these people is they deny, and all they do is further fuel the speculation and the rumor mill and everything
Dig
else.
the hole deeper.
Just say, yes, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And I made a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost whatever you do today, if you said, I made a mistake and I'm sorry, people say, okay.
Americans are a forgiving bunch.
Yep.
If you fess up and say, yep, that's how it went down, they'll give you a free ride on it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Also, by the way, do you believe in miracles?
Somewhat.
Yeah. Well, one happened right in the White House.
Oh, we've had a lot of miracles in the White House, Bill. A whole bunch of them.
The Rose law firm billing records of Hillary disappeared for 2 years.
That's that file fairy again. They've
And
got to fumigate.
then-
That place has to be fumigated for file fairies.
Then they appeared
Yep.
on the table one morning in the
morning,
White House.
just right there.
For 2 years, everybody walked by
Can't-
him and couldn't see him.
Can't explain it.
Unbelievable.
It's either that or aliens.
It could be aliens, I suppose. The Lincoln bedroom,
Yep.
the bed and breakfast, Benghazi.
That's a big one.
That's not going away.
That's not going away, no.
The Clinton Foundation and the foreign influence. The secret email server, that's not going away. And then there's just a couple of things that how maybe normal people don't get upset about, but I do. And one is the vast right-wing conspiracy. She mouthed those words for 8 years to explain every single thing.
That's died down a little bit now.
Well, you know, that she admitted that, oh, well, there was no vast right-wing conspiracy. I just needed something to say.
That's a talking point with her.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
This woman is saying, I want to be president. And you know what else drives me nuts? And by the way, truth in advertising, I'm about that far from going nuts. So it really isn't going to take much of a push. But the waving and the pointing nonsense when he and her are together on at a rostrum or something, and they're standing there and looking out, everybody's cheering, and
Yeah, oh yeah.
look up there. Oh yeah. You know, look, Hillary. You know, up there. And they stand there. That is so contrived.
Of course it is.
I mean, that was like him going over. I'll never forgive Bill Clinton, by the way, for going over to Normandy and going out on, I think it was Utah Beach, and building the crucifix of stones in the sand while he knelt. Stones don't grow normally on Normandy's beaches. They were put there.
Of course they were put there.
This was not a spontaneous event. It was a contrivance.
Yeah,
And to do that on that hallowed ground, just, well, I can get stirred up about that.
Oh, me too. It's
So, you must have a few bits of baggage to add to my list?
well, I don't trust her. I think trust is a big thing with her. I think trust is lacking, and really lacking with this one. But I don't trust Elizabeth either.
There's
But
a real lack of transparency
yeah, that's always my next one.
with Hillary. And it comes back to honesty.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of times she does not care to admit the truth, so it's kind of placed behind a fog bank.
Well, even Time a few weeks ago had an article that the rules don't apply to the Clintons.
Yeah, exactly.
That just about sums it up.
Sure. I mean, if you take a look at the decline in civility in American politics, it started with the Clintons when they brought James Carville and Lanny Davis, and no one is going to talk bad about this president. Remember Carville? And they attacked everything inside. Character assassination became the name of the game, and we went downhill from there, sadly. And the other thing that got me about Bill Clinton was in the debate with George Bush, he kept referring to him as George. Not Mr. President, George.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have any respect for the office, what the hell are you doing running for it?
I couldn't determine whether that was lack of respect or an attempt at casual familiarity.
Diminishing.
My good buddy, yeah.
Diminishing the aura
Yeah,
that surrounds
exactly.
Yeah. Either way, it all is in the same ball of wax, yeah, I mean, Hillary is duplicitous. And not only that, but, you know, I think another weakness, too, is her senatorial 4 years.
Yeah, she's
It
not
accomplished
known
nothing.
she's not known for anything.
No,
Except
nothing.
for the time that she was there.
I mean, just, you know, she took up a spot.
Yep.
So her baggage, she's a poor, I got some more weaknesses here. Poor debater. She doesn't take well to questions from the audience.
Thin-skinned.
Bingo.
That's exactly what it's the problem there.
Yeah.
And a quick temper.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. Dreadful job as Secretary of State. She was appointed for one reason only. Of
course.
She was appointed by President Obama to get her on the sidelines so she wouldn't spend the next 4 years
That's right.
criticizing every move he made, and then ended up opposing him in 2012. So he put her in a brilliant move. He boxed her into a corner where she was working for him.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Exactly. It's nothing new here, Bill.
Well said. Well said. You have a way with words, young man.
Thank you. I like the young man part, too.
She's old news. She's been around forever and has accomplished nothing. If you say, well, now wait a minute, Bill. Well, okay, if that's harsh, how about the list of accomplishments then? I'm certainly willing to listen. Where are they? Well, poor record as a carpetbagger senator. Not a friendly demeanor.
No, they're not.
No. If you said to me, if I was a little kid, and you said, my mother and father said, we're going to Aunt Hillary's this afternoon for a Sunday dinner, and we're going to spend the day with them, I'd probably go in the bathroom and swallow a bunch of pills or something. She's not going to get a lot of support from Obama's crowd. I don't think.
No, there's not a lot of crossover there.
She's a centrist. And now she's going to try to move to the left, but she's a centrist. And she's not a far left-wing nutcake. She's got a lot of contacts with the banking industry, Goldman Sachs, Fidelity. No, she's not a left-winger.
Hillary is in this business for Hillary. Absolutely. She doesn't give a tinker's damn about anything else. It's Hillary, or now it's Bill and Hillary, the Clintons.
She's like a weather vane.
Yeah.
She moves whichever way the wind
Whatever's
is
more
blowing.
advantageous for her, she's going to do it.
She was part of Obama's cabinet and a large player in his failed presidency. And let's face it, this is a failed presidency.
Oh, yeah.
The articles are coming out now, believe it or not, in the Times and stuff, and probably in Time magazine too, calling it a failed presidency. Didn't cash in on its potential and got sidelined with peripheral issues. And her husband, Bill Clinton, well, he's good news and bad news. I think there's going to be a certain subset that says, things were a heck of a lot better when Bill Clinton was president. The economy was moving, and he did some good things, and the stock market went. So
Well, I think it was a hell of a lot more interesting when he was president.
Yeah.
I used to sit and watch the news. Which young lady is going to come out of the crowd now?
Yep. Who did he accost this time? But he brings baggage with him too, of a different kind, and well, anyway, that's my list of her weaknesses.
It's hard to add to that. That's well researched. Her strengths are very short. I think we pretty much covered them too.
Yep. Just to cover other things that I scribbled a day before this, she sounded ridiculous trying to convince us that in 2001 she and the president were poor as church mice.
Oh, I don't buy that for a second.
Give me a break.
Now, what does she get for a speech?
She spoke to Goldman Sachs, and I think it was 300,000.
300,000. I know it's over two.
She did speak to one of the universities here in New England, and they balked at the 300. She did it for 2.25.
I know. I saw that. That was.
And
so some poor kid's tuition can go up.
Yeah, right. But and Bill's been out there on the rubber chicken circuit too, and between the two of them, so to suggest that they are living hand to mouth,
Ridiculous.
excuse me. She sounded equally unsure of herself when she tried to slip and slide over the change in her support for gay marriage. Now, this is okay, all right? People's opinions evolve. But she get very upset, though, that anyone would possibly suspect that she did it for a political reason.
Oh, yeah, well, let's go back to the thin-skinned again.
That's exactly
She cannot take any form of criticism.
Yep. And to say that, you know, she could possibly suspect that politics was behind the change in her belief system. This from a lady who has lived her entire life for politics.
That's right.
I mean, come on. I mean, how dumb does she think we are?
That's right. And that's another thing. They look you right in the eye and say, well, believe me, trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But you know, I have no problem with people changing their opinions.
No.
I don't like that thing, well, he's a flip-flopper or she's a flip-flopper. Sometimes you have an opinion or a belief, and other facts show up, that you can take that and change, say, well, I was wrong. Now I see the different light in it. That's a good, that's not a plus, that's not a minus.
That's right.
But particularly the left always wants to take somebody from the Republican Party or the right, say, well, he's a flip-flopper.
Yeah.
25 years ago he said this, and now he says this.
Yeah. But both the Clintons were pro-life.
Yeah.
But they weren't flip-floppers.
No, they weren't.
Their opinions matured.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
That's fine. That's what it should be.
That's the way it should be. As we age
Yeah.
and grow.
Because both of us got dealt with different opinions than we did 30 years ago.
Absolutely. No, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. And I'll share a couple of them with you coming up.
By next week, we'll both have other opinions again. So.
Were we safer in 2012 than we were in 2008 under the reign of Hillary Clinton running foreign affairs? Did we become safer in those 4 years?
With her?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, things didn't get better in North Korea?
No.
They didn't get better in the Middle East?
No. First of all, I think internationally, she was not well respected.
No.
The foreign leaders did not say that, oh my God, here comes Hillary, look out. They kind of said,
I've said this before, I'll say it again, this is unpopular, but it is the Middle East is a male-dominated society.
Positively.
And a woman can be the smartest woman in the world. And she is not going to be on the same footing as the men when she goes over there. It is just a way of life.
Yep.
And I think that rather than us try to shove a size 12 foot into a size 6 shoe by sending a woman to the Middle East, we would be a lot better to dust off old Jim Baker and send him over there.
Oh, absolutely. You know, that's a point in business sees this a lot. You have to do with the cultural norms of the cultures. Years ago, my brother-in-law's wife is Chinese, and she is a powerful lady. She's got contacts all over the world. She has an import-export business. She exports machine parts from this part all over the world. And she asked me to go to China with her to make a presentation to a large company. And she said what she had to do was to walk in and show she has a male partner. And that because if she goes in there as a female, even though she's Chinese female, they're not gonna take her serious.
Yeah.
But all she wanted to do was just go along and make the presentation with her, as if I was part of her company. I wasn't, but just
yeah, sure. But who knows that?
I ended up not going because I got sick. But my son went. He was. I was working on his MBA. I think he already had his MBA. He thought that was great, making a presentation in China.
That's great.
Against these companies. But
that's an experience of a lifetime.
Well,
no, you know.
But it was all that female and male presentation again.
Yeah. You know, and we can sit here and rail that women are not getting a fair shake all over the world, and they're not.
Yeah,
okay. But
you can't change
you got to accept what's there. You know what, Bill Belichick. It is what it is.
That's right.
Yeah. the penchant for privacy and the lack of transparency makes her unsuitable.
That it does.
Yeah. This business about it's her turn.
That's craziness.
I'm older than her. Why
right.
isn't it my turn?
Or mine.
Yeah,
I'm not as old
exactly.
as you are, but I'm next after you then. But you're right. That's just nuts.
It is nonsense. And yet, you listen to the talk shows and you hear it.
Yeah.
And she's paid her dues. Oh, well, let's take a look at her union book and see if her dues are paid. What a bunch of baloney that is.
If I was, I always say if I was king, but if I was a policymaker in the Democratic Party today, I would unhook that wagon. I would unhook that wagon with Elizabeth Warren and start looking around for some viable, strong candidates. Because if you don't, you're going to be in trouble.
So that pretty much sums up my Clinton stuff. She's trying to redo herself. So we've got these stories coming out now. And I'll just a couple of blips. Robbie Mook, who was slated to be her campaign manager, had this to say about watching her. There was a significant lack of ego and a great deal of humility shown in her meetings out in, I think it was Iowa.
Yeah.
The other thing.
Who wrote that article?
This was Julie Pace by the Associated Press.
Okay.
But in her 2016 presidential campaign, Clinton's expected approach also comes, let me backtrack before I read the rest of this. What they're talking about is her making fewer speeches to huge masses of people, because she doesn't draw them like Obama did, and make them to more speeches to smaller groups. And
the town meeting concept.
yes, and they will see her for the warm and friendly person that she is. But this lady wrote, but in her 2016 presidential campaign, Clinton's expected approach also comes with risks. More loosely scripted appearances increase the chance she could be drawn off message or make a misstep. I think that is a very sage observation by this lady, because I don't think that's her strength. Now, if you remember back in 2008, when the press when she announced that she was going to go for the Democratic nod against Obama, the press then started hounding her, asking her questions. When are you going to do this? What do you think about this? And she very haughtily said, we'll be talking about the issues on the campaign trail.
She does not do well on her feet.
It's all got to be scripted for her.
Yeah. Well, you put her on her feet and without a advance warning.
Yeah. Well, it's like Obama with the teleprompter.
Yeah.
Hey, you take the teleprompter away or break it halfway through the speech, and he has to pretend he's sick or something and leave the stage.
Well, like you and I, we're never prepared. We live on winging it.
That's it. Just a couple of other, just little bits here. In a CBS poll, this is written by Linda Chavez. In a CBS poll, only 26% of the people polled had a favorable view of Clinton, while 37% had an unfavorable opinion. And an astonishing 36% said they hadn't heard enough to form an opinion. Whee!
She's forgettable. That's what it is.
Yeah. Nonetheless, the inevitability of a Clinton presidency is far from secure. For one thing, many people don't trust her. According to the CBS poll, only 42% view her as trustworthy. 47% do not.
Just we mentioned that before.
They brought this up too. Who among those who follow politics can forget the battle over her billing records from the Rose Law Firm, subpoenaed but lost, until they showed up mysteriously 2 years later in the first couple's White House residence.
You're just supposed to believe it.
Yeah. Clinton has tremendous advantages, not least intelligence, ambition, and a fundraising juggernaut, which have discouraged other serious Democrats from entering the race.
Nobody would argue with those three attributes.
Yeah.
So those are absolute truisms.
Exactly. And I think there's perhaps one more thing here. What do you think of Rand Paul?
You know, I don't know. I've been watching him the last few days to see what's going on.
That speech he made when he announced he was going to run for president was brilliant.
It was.
It was absolutely brilliant. But, I mean, he's got some baggage he's toting around, too. Going to cut the size of the military. We're not going to fund, you know, the IRS. And
I'm not totally comfortable with him.
No. But he kind of laid a little lumber on Hillary. First thing, we ought to inform her that in the 21st century, you can put 2 email accounts on one phone.
Yeah.
It's insulting that she says, for convenience sake, she may have endangered our national security. Also blasted her for accepting money donated to the Clinton Foundation from countries that not only don't promote human rights, but abuse human rights. You know, that's a subset that we need to talk about. But what is going on with this country and women's rights overseas? We should be all over these horrible things that go all over the country, going on all over the world, and yet we just give it lip service. I mean, a bigger story is a dog that was mistreated up in Saugus by its owner. And that gets headlines in the Herald.
Of course.
But when 140 women are kidnapped and enslaved and married off to ISIS, well, you know, that's how they do things over there in the Middle East. Well, and Rand Paul also said, when asked what grade he would give Kerry, he said F. He said, I'm trying to be generous. But then he goes on, you know, to say, if you want a good adjective, I'd say feckless, lacking in direction, misguided, unconstitutional, frequently illegal. No, that was discussing the president, I'm sorry. But anyway, now we have the results of the first straw poll, I guess, up in New Hampshire. Favorability ratings. Now this has got to be just the Democrats doing this. I'm sure it is. Yeah, it is. Favorability ratings, 84% for Hillary Clinton, 73% for Elizabeth Warren, and 65% for Joe Biden. You remember him, the guy that manhandles all the women that come in the White House. Yeah. If the primary
Mr. Slick.
Yeah, smooth moves.
Yep.
If the primary was held today, 47% would vote for Hillary Clinton, 22% for Elizabeth Warren, and 10% for Joe Biden. And I'm not really good at math, but that leaves a whole bunch undecided, I guess.
Oh, there has to be, but
yeah.
But those three are just, you might as well put Larry Moore and Curly out.
Yeah, yeah. How about this, though? This is beautiful. The fallout from the Clinton email scandal. Now, remember, this is Democrats. 68% say it's not serious.
Of course not.
Yep. 25% say somewhat serious. 6% say very serious. Yeah, so blow that off. Yeah. Favorability of Bill Clinton. 87% favorable, 9% unfavorable. How quickly we forget.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We do have short memories, but probably not as short as those polls say, because I'd like to see, one, how the questions were posed, and two, who the sampling was.
Yeah.
Where the sampling came from.
The Democratic voters in New Hampshire and elsewhere are sending a pretty clear message to pollsters and party.
Yeah.
If Franklin Pierce University Boston Herald poll is what this is, and it polled likely Democratic primary voters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the way you rig the poll. I mean, the Republicans do the same thing.
Of course they do.
Call Republicans. When Susan Rice was sent to the Sunday morning talk shows to offer herself up as a sacrificial lamb, it was, and she, I guess, allegedly said that Clinton was simply too exhausted by her travels to appear by herself.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, okay. I can't show you that. I'll put that over there. And Carville has been rolled out to defend her emails. And he said that he justified Clinton's actions as a reasonable means. This is, by the way, having the private server for emails.
Right.
A reasonable means of preventing the Republican Congress from rifling through her emails.
That's absolutely absurd.
He rolled it out, though.
That is.
And that will be the rallying cry for the gullible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As if that part of Congress were the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
As if she was doing something that was good for the country, not bad for the country.
I've gone the extra mile to make sure the ne'er-do-wells have no access to my stuff.
Red into green and white into black and oil into water if we could keep doing this kind of stuff.
Boy, I'll tell you. Yeah, Clinton initially asked to be paid $300,000 to speak at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And she settled for $225,000.
Well, she's really getting down there to bargain basement, isn't it?
And but she does ask $300,000, and speaking engagements included events sponsored by Fidelity Investments, Goldman Sachs, and the National Association of Chain Drugstores. The far left is not going to like that list of people.
No.
That she's been.
You'd think that if she's
hanging out
so
with.
concerned, she wants to be president of the United States, and so concerned about this country, that she'd be out there giving out the good word for free.
You're exactly right. Now, I'm just kind of skipping over some of this stuff here.
You can tell Bill is the political part of this pair. I'm the outrage.
That's right. And trying to get to the bottom. The heck with it. I'll just flip this because I know where the bottom starts here. Okay. We have to save that. The Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, one of my least favorite people in the world.
What do you think about her candidacy or possible candidacy?
Phony baloney. I think she's a media darling.
Mm-hmm.
The media has picked her up as the I'm not sure what, the idol.
She's the cover girl, I think, for liberal magazines and all.
Yeah, she's a lightweight.
Yep.
Extremely lightweight. Not very dishonest, unethical. Howie Card turned her the fake Indian at one point. I think
Right,
that
right,
pretty much-
and that pretty much sums it
up.
up. Yeah. I think that she is totally unqualified to be president.
Absolutely.
I mean, she just, and I tell you what, I think she's a principled woman.
Oh,
I think
don't
she's
doubt that.
very intelligent.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to
And
get
I
into
think her reluctance to run for president is she knows in her heart she is not qualified.
Yeah.
And she has got to be involved in this whole deal for another, 6 years,
that. Yeah, she has a
essentially.
little trepidation about wading into this thing where she doesn't know what she's going to be doing.
Yeah. Exactly. She really and truly, when she goes on the stump, she talks about two things:
Oh, go ahead. I know.
the middle class,
Yeah.
and the banking abuses.
Yeah.
The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. But she's really favors redistribution of wealth. I don't think there's any way around that. But she's got. Listen, I tend to agree with you that this span between the rich and the middle class has gotten way out of line.
Oh, absolutely.
The whole thing in this country now is written with on the wall as everything has to favor the rich.
Yeah.
And slugs like us, well, that's too bad. Invest your money wisely, though, for your retirement, as we make $4 and $5 and $6 million a year.
Yeah.
So I think that she is genuinely feels that the middle class is getting screwed, and I do too. As far as banking abuses, look, there's a whole bunch of those bankers that should be rounded up and boiled in oil. They're a bad lot. Now, they've gone ways towards cleaning it up. How much have they cleaned it up? I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of them are still there, but they're saying, we'll be good now. But
Well, the banks have never had it so great.
they never have.
When do you remember when their ratio of savings, or what they pay out, their cost of doing business, their outlay of money, was like 5 to 1, 6 to 1? They give out less than 1% on assets coming into them, and they get 4 or 5 times going out the other way.
No,
It's never been like
they've
that.
had it made. And as far as breaking up the big banks, break them up as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't care.
And then she really hit a note to me about financial advisors, that they have got to have the best interest of the people first before they give them advice. In other words, they have to be fiduciaries. When you're consulting me, I am not interested in what commissions I get on what I'm trying to put you into. I've got to concern myself with you first.
Yeah,
And that is the way it should be.
that's the way it should be, but it hasn't always been that way.
No, it hasn't been that way at all. I mean, you get guys that just say, oh, guess what? I'm a financial advisor, and they hang a shingle out. And not necessarily in Massachusetts. They're much more strict here, but in other states. And you got folks that are.
But even the brokerage firms, they for years were leading people on the nickel and dime people like myself and you.
Yep.
That, put your money here, put your money there. Wasn't your best return. They were just making the best money off it.
They were making the biggest commission. It's like annuities.
Yeah.
The guy, the person that makes out is the guy that sells the annuity.
Absolutely.
They say that there is as much as an 8% commission on annuities.
I don't
Now
know.
that's
It's possible.
that's what I've read.
Yeah.
But anyway,
As far as Elizabeth Warren goes, unless she gains a whole lot of experience fast, I don't see her even coming into this picture.
yeah, she's got that stuff too about the fake Indian. I mean, she's going to have to address that if she
Absolutely.
decides she's going to go forward. But here is the problem. Now, we had a lot to talk about Hillary. We have got such a narrow field here to hone in on Elizabeth Warren.
There's no history.
There isn't. There's none.
You go back, she's only this long in the
Yeah,
history book.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just simply not a whole heck of a lot to talk about. When she talks about the rich, I mean, who the heck is she kidding?
Yeah.
I mean, her and her husband are pulling $700K out of Harvard a year,
That's-
$350 each.
You know that's one of my pet peeves.
Yeah.
Her third issue is student debt,
Yeah.
tuition,
Yeah.
and what the rate they pay.
Yep.
Well, let's start out with how much they owe, not what they're paying on debt. And students' debt is a culmination of all the university's expenses. Administration and the educators are a big part of that, along with the building and the heat and everything
Yeah.
else.
Well, of course.
But when you pull down $335,000 a year to teach one course, that's got to affect the bottom line.
Of course it does.
And don't come to me then and say, oh my goodness, these kids have such a high debt ratio. Well, of course they do. It's people like you
The
that's
prices
raising it up.
of education keep on going up. Parents can't pay for it. But you know what? The problem, the real nut here is that these kids are coming out of school and entering the job market and there's no jobs there.
Absolutely.
All right? If there were, and if things were booming like they used to, I'd say, oh, gee, cry on somebody else's shoulder. Get out, get a job, and pay off the loans. Why the hell should I pay them off for you? But they're being strangled because there is no jobs. We had a president that called himself the jobs president.
Yep.
Yeah, what a joke.
Plus, we got to get back to, in education, I think, some common sense on where
Yeah.
these kids are going with their education.
Yep.
I would have loved to have majored in English poetry, maybe. I wouldn't really, but I just brought that up.
Yeah, sure.
But what the hell am I going to do with it?
Some of these kids, too, spend 5 years getting a master's
Yeah.
degree in Middle East archaeology.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, where
Well,
the heck are they going to
gee.
go get a job that pays $100,000 a year so they can pay off their student loans that's connected with Middle East archaeology?
The courses were interesting.
Yeah, they
But
were.
after
And
that-
they're probably fascinating. Okay?
Well,
Don't expect me to pay for that.
where do you go? You go through school and you get a degree in women's studies, black studies.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it?
Okay. We're going to have to move right along here.
We all seem to get in
Because
this predicament.
I know it, but I've got some zingers here. All right, and okay, we talked all about that. Okay, now I'm going to give you a few subjects, and I want you to tell me who will do the best job on these subjects: Elizabeth Warren or Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. We got to find a way to pay for this stuff.
Actually, I'll go with Elizabeth Warren on that simply because of her
Yeah, me too.
background.
Uh,
I don't think Hillary's got
I don't think
her
she's
2
a
feet in reality.
compassionate
Yeah.
a person. Yeah, the IRS that is screaming for reform. Who's going to take that?
I'll go with Elizabeth on that one.
Yep.
too.
Taxes. We've got to redo taxes. To have the tax code be this high
yeah.
is ridiculous. Rewrite it onto 4 pages. That's it. All right? Who's going to tackle that?
I'm going to stay with academia on this one.
Okay. Obamacare. Who has got to address themselves to modifying this, going through it, taking some of the
change it?
nonsense out of it, and firming it up and try to make something believable out of it?
I don't have a lot of faith in either one of them. But if I
Okay.
got to pick one of them on lesser of the two evils here, I'm going to switch over to Hillary on this one.
Okay. I'm going to stick with Elizabeth Warren.
Okay.
Race relations.
I'm going back to Elizabeth.
I just drew a blank on that
Yeah,
one.
I don't. It's hard to-
Long-term care insurance for the elderly. That's something else we need to talk about on the show here because
Well, I think
that's becoming a real
again. I
problem.
think Elizabeth got the ability to analyze and
Yes,
financial matters much
Ev-
more than Hillary has.
exactly. Low-cost housing, especially inner cities, but there's also like Appalachia and places like that that we're just not doing a good job.
No, and I that one I'm going to pick Hillary for because I think she's got more experience in this and she's got a lot more followers.
I think you're right. Jobs, and boy, there's the number one issue as far as I'm concerned.
I think Elizabeth Warren's got the better ability.
Okay, I think I'd lean towards Hillary because I think Bill might get
All right,
involved.
if Phil gets involved, then.
Strengthening the military.
Oh boy. You sure you want either one of them involved?
Well, you know what? Hillary and Bill hated the military,
know.
and that was written up
And
in
we're
their
not sure what-
biographies.
We're not sure what Elizabeth Warren's
we
posture
have
is.
no idea.
We have no idea.
All right, we're going to pass on that one. Repairing relations with our allies after the arrogant Obama finally leaves office. England, France, Germany, Canada, NATO, Japan, South Korea.
It has to be Elizabeth Warren in this because Hillary's got so much baggage in that area.
She's
part of the problem
She's
there.
kicked that ball around and achieved nothing. Although I really don't think either one of them will do much. I don't think either one of them can do much. Facing up to ISIS and the other Islamic extremists with a cogent plan of what we should do.
Neither one of them. I can't.
Yep.
You can't.
You're
I
right.
Can't, you can't
You're
pick
right.
sides on that.
Yep. The government's prime role, provide for the national defense.
I can't see Hillary doing anything with defense because she's just not. Her heart's not in it.
That's right. Yeah. And the other one is, I think the other one, if we were sitting here having a couple of beers with her, I think she'd say, you know what, you guys are wonderful. I really love being on your show, but I don't know enough about that to give you a decent answer.
See, that to me, that would be a good answer.
It would be a good answer.
That would be a great answer.
And if she were honest about it,
Yeah.
she would say that.
That's right.
Yeah. So we now bring our singing and dancing on this subject to a close. And now I am going to force you to make a prediction.
Uh-oh. Yep.
We timed that well.
We did.
Go ahead. Who emerges as the Democratic nominee for president? And the silence was deafening, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to have to hold my nose and say Hillary. I don't see anybody in the wings that's even Biden. There's no way. He's not even
He'd be laughed off the
Yeah.
stage. No.
halfway through, halfway through the first month out in his campaign.
You
he'd have
know,
so many guffaws out there.
Oh,
to it.
yeah. I mean, it would be like a comedy show. It's Saturday Night Live. I have my candidate. And if you're ready,
Go ahead.
John Forbes Kerry.
Holy balls. I don't know where to go with that.
Let me tell you something.
Although,
If you don't think that this maneuver to be Secretary of State wasn't totally conceived by, let's face it, he had a safe seat. He had all the power in the world down in Washington. He took this on for one thing, to
You know-
set him up for 2016.
just sitting here contemplating what you just said, it really kind of starts to make sense.
It's the brilliance is overwhelming, isn't it?
He lets Hillary and Elizabeth Warren fight it out to the end, and he picks up the pieces.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, look at those two in the cat fight. They're both on the floor, cut up and bleeding.
Exactly.
And here I am, and look, I solved the Iranian problem.
Yeah.
I have the gentleman's signature on a piece of paper.
Was that
Just
Montgomery?
like Neville Chamberlain
Chamberlain,
has
yep.
said that. Yeah, when he had Hitler's signature. So I think the end game is going to be to let them two fight it. Oh, you know what? There's going to be a couple more that are going to drift in.
Of course.
That have no chance in the world and couldn't raise 40 cents
Yep.
to run. But boy, Kerry is going to be waiting in the wings. And folks, here I am. Whisper my name, call me in, and give it to me by acclamation, because I'm the only one.
I asked to rescind my vote for Hillary and give it to Kerry.
Oh, man. I wonder if there's one thing in here that I can talk about for 2 minutes.
Here, talk about Kerry. Stupidity.
Oh,
Today's paper.
I know.
Today, the supreme leader in Iran says, yes, we will agree, but you're going to drop all sanctions immediately, and you will not be able to look at our military bases.
Yeah.
Gee, do you think they could hide something there?
What did Ronald Reagan say? Trust but verify.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. We've only got a minute left or so, folks. So I'm going to share with you some culture. John Sanford is a great mystery author, my favorite, just about. And he's created a new character with the last 7 or 8 novels that he writes, Virgil Flowers. And here is his latest book. It's available at the library. It's going to cost you $1 to rent it because it's on the hot shelf. But I'll tell you, this is a great read.
Well, that sounds good.
It is a dandy, and I'll give that to you.
Well, thank you, sir.
In the meantime, folks, look at this. All things for Duane and I to talk about, and we didn't get to one of them.
Yeah,
So,
the main political hump is over.
yep. Okay. So I think what we'll do is let's see if we can schedule another show for next week, and let's deal with these.
Yeah. I can
It's all done, and it just I know other stuff's going to come up between now and then.
Oh, my.
I think we just block it off, and this one right here, states consider citizenship test for high school graduation. There's number 1 right there.
Oh, we got so many here.
Yeah.
Harvard they want Harvard to shake free of oil stocks. That's all that kind of craziness.
This is insanity. Absolute insanity.
Okay.
Folks, the moment has arrived when we must say good night. It's been nice of you to tune in. Good night. And the light went off in it.
Just like that.
That's it.
Just like that.